Good morning, Winchester Public Library. I'm here. I'm late, a little bit late. Happy Monday, happy very rainy Monday. I was awake most of the night listening to the storm. And I've had some last minute things to get together, and I'm here now, and I hope you're here now so that we can talk about summer reading. I have a few things I'm still getting organized. I got a little overwhelmed when I came into the library this morning because I was here last week, but I think last week because I was not really taking a lot of time to look around, I sort of forgot to notice how many books I have not read and what's kind of going on out there. And I just was overcome by the fact that there are stacks and stacks of books for book clubs, virtual book clubs that we have to get to talk when we talk about our adult summer reading. Great books like Pachinko, which I'm actually using to prop up my camera this morning. I didn't realize the library was going to be reading Pachinko. It's such an amazing book, and I hope that everyone who has a chance can read it. This morning, we are talking about summer reading, our summer reading programs specifically. I'm just going to take a breath. Welcome. Hope everybody's well, healthy, feeling okay. This is my first summer as an employee of the Winchester Public Library, so it's been a fun opportunity for me to kind of really get to know the summer reading program, which I have participated in a little bit through the children's department with my son, but not, like a little bit in and out. So this year, as you know, everything is happening virtually. Which is not a problem because we have all the books and tons of access to books through our Overdrive catalog, and that can be delivered to your device. We have contactless pickup, which you can schedule now on our website at winpublic.org. Our summer reading program kicked off on June 1st, and it runs until August 21st. I don't know if you had a chance to see around town on June 1st, we had an enchanted caravan filled with children's librarians mostly and staff at the library driving around town in hilariously decorated vehicles, sort of kicking off the summer reading season. If you did not get a chance to see that, you can go to our I think it's on our Facebook page too. You can go to our website and you can go to our YouTube page down at the bottom, and there's a really cute video that was put together of the caravan as it left the library and drove through town, honking and waving at children mainly standing at the side of the road. So we'll start off with kids summer reading. I have things to talk about for kids summer reading program and teens, and then a few comments to make about adults. We don't, on our website, we have a section for adult summer reading, but we don't have a link to it at the moment. But what we do have is some virtual book clubs happening. So I'll make sure that you know what books we're reading. And then if we have time, I have a few recommendations of some books that you might want to check out this summer. They are what do I have here? I have 3 nonfiction books and 1 fiction book that I'm going to talk about. Actually, that is a book club that Brittany's running, Miss B, down in the children's level, is running in July. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Coffee. That's what I haven't had a chance to do since I got here. Alrighty, excuse me for 1 second. I'm at a narrow table. So, for kids summer reading, you can register your children, or if they're a little bit older, they can register themselves, and this is kids up to 5th grade, up to and including 5th grade. You can set up a profile for them. You can go to our website, and then there is a link to summer reading in a couple of different places, what we have in our programs. It might be under events as well, and then there's like a moving gallery that goes across the homepage, and you can click on the summer reading program and follow the links, which will take you to where you can register all of your children, as many as you would like to register. And once they have a profile, they can see suggested readings for picture books and chapter books. You can always contact a children's librarian if your child has specific reading needs, like you feel like they've read absolutely everything and you don't know where to turn next. That's exactly what the kids librarians are great at. And in the summer reading program, what makes it a little bit different than just reading for the sake of reading is it's incentivized. Children can log their books. They can leave book reviews, which I think is such a cool idea because it's a great way to get kids really trying to piece together what they're reading and retell the story in a short review, and also to work on their writing. And I think this summer, more than any summer, certainly of my memory, is going to be an important one to make sure our kids are still like focusing on those skills of reading and writing, and it's been a big chunk of time away from their regular academic routines. So anything we can do to get kids engaged in books and stories is wonderful. So I hope you'll really check out the kids' summer reading program. In addition to logging books and leaving reviews, there are lots of activities they can do, and these activities are really cool. It's not, they're all activities that really get them engaged in reading, researching, using the catalog, putting thoughts together, putting projects together, but they're all done kind of a different way. And as the kids do their challenges, they unlock rewards, and unlocking rewards means that they can get prizes. So you'll have to read all of the details about that, but I wanted to go over some of the really cute activities that can get your kids into the spirit of writing, reading, and creating. For example, we have Build a Fairy House. So it's not just build a fairy house, here's instructions. There's a book. They have to read the book to figure out how to build a fairy house. They could do a little bit of internet research to figure out how to build a fairy house. They can make it as, interesting and ornate or as simple as they want. They can make it out of recycling you have at home. They can make it out of any fabric, it's time to have fun here. They can make a recipe. They could make a recipe that is a bowl of cereal with some cut up fruit. It can be very simple for young children. It doesn't have to be complicated. If you have older kids, they could put together something that they actually have to bake, or, a dinner kind of recipe. Make a kindness rock. And when you click the link to the kindness rock, you will see that there's Google Images to just show them, some examples of kindness rocks. And I think it's a really beautiful time for kindness rocks. I found a few in the woods lately, and my heart always skips a beat when I see one. And I think that's a really beautiful and easy way for kids to create something that they put into the world for someone to happen upon, to bring a little bit of joy to someone's life. Kids could watch a movie that's based on a fairy tale, which, you can get a kid to watch a movie probably any day, so that's a good one. And then you can read the fairy tale too. You could read the fairy tale out loud. There's not a lot of in-person visits happening now, but you could have a virtual visit with a relative or grandparent or friend and have your child read a fairy tale to them. Kids can have story time together over FaceTime or Zoom. Sometimes it's easier when it's more of a one-on-one situation than what was happening at the end of school, which was a lot of kids on a Zoom where everybody just wants to talk to each other. But one-on-one Zooms can work really well, especially if they have a little bit of structure. And if one child's reading and another child's just kind of fiddling with some Lego or something, that can work really well too. So nobody gets bored and they can take turns reading. Your kids can take a nature walk. These are all activities that they can log in the summer reading program. Build a castle. And so, like I say, many of these things have links to websites or our catalog or books that they can access, you or your kids can access through Overdrive or Hoopla. It's important to keep reading, and I think even more than ever, it's really it's a fun time to get kids storytelling and writing. Someone suggested to me recently that it would be fun to have a child write a couple of sentences about their day each day this summer, over this particular summer period. Just a couple of things, what they did, or something that happened, or a thought they had, or something they encountered. And if they write, not even a paragraph, a sentence or two each day, and keep it in a journal, and at the end of the summer, they can go through and they have a story that tells the story of their summer that they can put together and carry that memory with them. And I thought that was something really lovely that I'd like to do with my son. And I actually think it's not a bad idea for adults too to do that. I'm a sip of water now. It's very warm in here today. It's warm everywhere. We're going to move on to teens, the teen summer reading program, which is going to function very much the way the kids summer reading program does. Teens have really neat stuff to do. When I read about the teen activities, I was thinking many of these are things I would like to do, and a lot of them would work really well in a book club setting. You know, like we were talking about last week, to sort of reboot your book club or get people engaged again, or do things that are smaller, maybe feeling, and less commitment based than reading an entire book and having to meet. There are just little things you could do to engage with literature, books, you know, film, art, poetry. There's a big place in our worlds right now for that. So the teens will also go to, so teens is 6th to 8th for McCall, and then 9th up for Winchester High School. And they will go also to our website and click on the same summer reading link, and they'll have a separate link to go to teen summer reading. Same idea, they'll register, they can probably register themselves. They'll create a profile for themselves, and then they will be able to do similar things. Log the books that they're reading, write reviews of the books that they're reading, see book recommendations for them. They can also anytime chat with librarian, our teen librarian Amanda is available by email. You can call her, leave a message, she'll get back to you. And they, some of the activities that the teens will have to do, or choose to do, but hopefully will do, because it's just, you know, summer and we have to keep reading, people. We do. Write a diary entry from the point of view of a character in a book. I think that's really cool. When I was a kid, I was a big diary keeper, and I'm a very big reader, and I think this is just so creative and fun. And it can be a diary entry, or you could write a summer diary for a character, depending on the book you're reading and the circumstances they're going through. You could talk about how a current book, a contemporary book that you're reading, would be different if it were set 25 years ago. And 25 years ago is a fun example that Amanda thought of, I believe, because what did we not have 25 years ago? Cell phones, laptop computers, tablets, you know, all of the things that we keep in touch with and have in our hands and have our heads down looking at. So what would a book that you're reading look like if none of that existed? And we were maybe kids whose both parents worked all the time, which many of us were and are. And life's just a little bit low tech, I remember. You can have teens, that's part of the teens' activities, are to read a retold fairy tale or a retold classic. This is a really popular genre right now. And it's a fun genre because a lot of the times you read a fairy tale or a classic, they don't age well necessarily. In many ways, racially, from a feminist perspective, a lot of fairy tales are very old-fashioned. But some classics and some fairy tales have been retold in really interesting ways, and that would be a fun one to check out. And then you could, you know, a teen could read the classic and then the retold classic, Pride and Prejudice, and then a book called Aisha at Last, which is a book based on Pride and Prejudice written from the perspective of a young Muslim woman, which would be a very different book. And probably eye-opening, maybe a bit more modern, maybe a little bit more approachable for a teen. We could read something with a female or non-binary protagonist, which is another, you know, there's a world of books written this way right now by non-binary authors, LGBTQ books, women authors, women's voices, Black women's voices. These are stories we need to read. And I think you'll find on our list of summer reading, I've looked at the list, and I've looked at the list on paper, and I've looked at the books, but I haven't gone through to see the diversity of the authors, but I'm hoping that we have some really diverse authors for the school readings this year. When I was in high school, there was not a ton of diversity in reading. It was sort of like women or men, and that was it. Anyway, you could submit an illustration that you've created based on a book that you're reading. That's a neat one too. If you're really into art and creating, that would be a fun one. You can submit your creation to Amanda. You can check online. Her email address is online, and she will she'll get back in touch with you when you submit it and let you know. I think they're all going to be pulled together to be looked at if you're comfortable sharing them. You could read a book, then watch a movie. We talked about this a few weeks ago. That's always a good one. Read the book first, I highly recommend, and then watch the movie and kind of figure out if the movie falls flat compared to the book, and if so, why, and if not, why. You can create a found poem from a book that you love. And if you have not heard of found poetry, which I had not, and looked it up, it's fascinating. It's when you take a text that already exists and you don't alter any of the text, but you move the text around and you refashion it in a way that creates poetry. And I don't think you need to do it with an entire text. You could take a section of a book or a chapter or a paragraph or chunks and put them in different orders and create poetry from that, which is a really neat way to view something that you love. And then you can, see if you can create a poem that through which you could still identify the book, the original text. That would be neat. Another fun thing for teens is to read a book that a parent or relative loved when they were the teens age, just to see what your parents were reading when they were in high school. I mean, a lot of the books your parents were reading when they were in high school are the books that you're reading now. There are certainly a lot of new ones too. I'm going to just grab the paper right here. I'll tell you some of the ones for sure that are not that new. So what's fun now, there's a lot of graphic novels, which, probably our parents were not reading for sure. A lot more fantasy and a lot of biography. I think when I was in high school, it was a lot of classics, a lot of Shakespeare, and a lot of, I grew up in Canada, so I wasn't reading necessarily books that were staples in the States, but I was reading a lot of Canadian classics. We didn't read a lot of biographies, but I think that that's a really neat idea, because that can also help you understand the people in the world, who else is around you and what they have to say, and it can help readers gain perspective, which is always a good thing. So we have reading lists here, and they're online, available online. It's separated by grade, so 6, 7, and 8 are all separated. And then Winchester High School, which is mostly 9 and 10, grade 9 and 10 is also separate. Once you get into 11th and 12th grade, I think it's like more of a teacher-specific or class-specific choices that you'll be reading. So definitely check this out. This is a great way to get ahead on your school year, which we don't really know what the school year is going to look like. So if there's anything to be done ahead of time, that would probably be great to do. So all of the middle and high school books are available on Overdrive. They are also available in the library, which you can reserve through contactless pickup. If you find one that you love and you want to reread it, or you get a feeling you'll want to reread it, make sure you visit Bookends, because Bookends also has all of the books and it has the lists for the high schoolers, and that's a great way to support a local business. Read it from the library, and if you decide you want to own it, go and purchase a book. All right. I hope that covered enough about summer reading for kids. If you have any questions, you can email the library, call us, leave me a message. This video will be posted to Facebook as usual, and you can leave messages there or messages here. For some ideas for adults, I'm going to log on to our calendar right here, which I did not have time to do before. But the librarians at the library have been creating sort of short blog posts with book lists. We've been doing this since the library closed. And if you go to our website and you look under the heading is called What's New, I think. You can click on any of those, and many of them are book lists. And 2 book lists that I created were the Power of Female Friendships, books related to that, and also one on narrative nonfiction, which is nonfiction books that read like you're reading a page-turning fictional story that you can't believe someone didn't make up. And I selected a few of those to show you, and just wanted to remind you that most of these books, all of the books that I selected for the narrative nonfiction book list are available as ebooks and audiobooks online, because that was before we were back in the library able to prepare contactless pickup for you. But we do also have books in the library. In fact, some of them are out right now, and I brought 2 of my own from home. Before I talk about my own selections, I did want to mention that on July 23rd, Brittany is running her Hot Young Reads book club. She's doing it virtually. It's very popular. And the book that she has selected, backwards I know, for this month is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is a great book. This is actually a YA book, young adult, but it is a book I think that everyone should read. I wrote a little synopsis on the back, so I'm going to read this to you while you look at the cover of it. This is a book about a 16-year-old black girl named Star who witnesses the death of a black childhood friend who is shot by a police officer. This is not Star's first experience with gun violence. Star's life is further complicated by the fact that she has a white boyfriend who she is trying to hide from her father, who is a former gang member. She has a very complicated life. This book is about police brutality, it's about justice, it's about advocacy and activism, and it has been called the Black Lives Matter novel. I recommend it a lot. I think Brittany will run a great discussion with this. I think I'm going to try to actually join that discussion. It's a very timely book. This would be a great book for our teens to read. It would be a great book for the parents of the teens to read. So that's The Hate You Give. And I'm not logged on to the Wi-Fi, so I can't give you the calendar. I'm sorry. It's the second week in a row. It's getting used to doing this in the library again. This is a book that I have not read. It is on my list, and I haven't read it because I'm a little bit terrified of it. I heard it's a little scary. It's on the dark side. It's called I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. It's about the search and arrest of the Golden State Killer in San Francisco. And Michelle McNamara died as she was writing this book, and at the time of her death, she had amassed thousands and thousands of files about this case. She was a journalist and a writer and a researcher who was just fascinated by cold cases. This was a cold case, and the work that she did before she died helped the police to find the Golden State Killer. It's interesting. There's actually, I think, an HBO series now that has a 6-part HBO series that has come out based on this as well, which I don't think I'm going to watch either. But I would like to read the book. This is a CD. You can take it out. It's the book is not in the library at the moment, but you can come and grab the CD or put it on hold and we'll deliver it out to you. Another book that I wanted to recommend that I bought for myself a year ago, and I haven't read it yet. It's on my list. National Book Award winner, The Heart of the Sea, The Tragedy of the Whale Ship Essex by Nathaniel Philbrick. It's sort of a local-ish book, and I'll read you the synopsis that I wrote here. In 1819, the Essex left Nantucket for the South Pacific with 20 crew members aboard. In the middle of the South Pacific, the ship was rammed and sunk by an angry sperm whale. The crew drifted for more than 90 days in 3 tiny whaleboats, succumbing to weather, hunger, disease, and ultimately turning to drastic measures. The author, Nathaniel Philbrick, has used documents and an account that he found of the ship's cabin boy, that had been lost for a long time, and so it's called a mesmerizing and intense book. It's a page turner. This book has been recommended all over the place. Every time I hear somebody's best of lists, it seems to be on it. So I recommend this one. This could be a really fun one. I don't know if this has ever been done as a book club book here. This could be a fun one to do. And the last book I have to recommend to you, which is over here, hold on. I also haven't read this one. I added books to my list that I really wanted to read myself, because that's how I sort of put my book lists together. This is Laura Hillenbrand, Unbroken. It's a World War II story of survival, resilience, and redemption. It's a biography of a man named Louis Zamperini, who was a former Olympic track star, and he survived in a plane crash in the Pacific and spent 47 days drifting on a raft, and then became a prisoner of war in Japan in a POW camp and survived there for almost 3 more years. And it's one of the, I think it was it spent 4 years on the New York Times bestseller list. It was really hard to get for a long time. I remember that's why I didn't read it. We also don't have the book right now, it's out. But this would be another great one to read, Unbroken. And as I said, my camera is sitting on top of Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. And that's, if you have not read Pachinko, that is just a beautiful, beautiful, epic family drama saga about love and parenting and friendship. And it's very sort of bittersweet. We are pretty much out of time. I hope you'll all be reading this summer. I hope you'll be using the library. Get in touch with us, please. We're here from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Someone's always checking the email. Someone's always checking the voicemail. Circulation staff is working hard to get your books ready for contactless pickup. Our website is winpublib.org, where you can register for summer reading. You can sign up for any of our virtual activities that are going on. We've still got lots of Zooms happening this week. Teresa is having a cooking club on Friday night, July 3rd, around 5:30, I think, so check that out. I think that one might require registration. And keep reading and stay well, and we hope to hear from you and see you soon.